Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, then I hope you weren't too disappointed. Since it's Halloween, the last day of October, I decided I would do an October wrap-up, basically just summarizing what I read this month. In total, I read 7 books, and I'm just going to go through each one of them, give my overall rating of them, and just talk a little bit about what I felt about them. So let's get started. The first book I read this month was One of Us is Next by Karen and McManus. This is the sequel to One of Us is Lying, which was a murder mystery, but this time it is about this dangerous truth or dare game where basically you have to pick the dare or otherwise a revealing truth will be told to the entire school. I rated this one 4 stars. I thought it was just a nice read. It was fun. I mean, just guessing like who was behind all of this stuff and just the conspiracies and the drama. I think the representation of teenagers was done really well in this book because usually teenagers in YA just don't seem to be accurate, I guess, to normal teenagers, and there's some exceptions for that, but I just feel like this one does it really well. I was kind of disappointed by the ending, and this happened in One of Us is Lying too, but both of them I really enjoyed. I read One of Us is Lying when I was in 7th grade, and just, you know, going back to Bayview High School and just reliving those, you know, dramatic moments and the suspense was really fun. Yes, I would really recommend this to anyone looking forward to some fun mystery. Yeah. The next book that I read in October was So This Is Love by Elizabeth Lim. This is part of the Twisted Tales series where Disney princess stories are retold in a way where they take an alternative path somewhere along their journey. And this particular one is about Cinderella, where the big question is, what if Cinderella never tried on the glass slipper? So when the prince is doing that worldwide search of who was wearing the glass slipper that night, she never gets to try it on and she's just ignored and neglected, all those things. So we're following Cinderella's journey as she tries to still find her way back to the prince. I rated this one 3.5 stars just because I feel like I would have enjoyed it more if I was younger. This book didn't really strike me as a YA book. I'm not sure if it's actually a YA book, but I'm pretty sure it is. And none of the content in this book was YA necessarily. I mean, it was very tame, mild, I guess. I don't know. Overall, Cinderella has like no personality, so I can definitely see why this would be kind of a struggle to write. It's a very classic story. I think Elizabeth Lim did a really good job of giving Cinderella and the Prince Charming personalities, because if you've seen the movie, you know, they really don't have any personality to them. This gave them a bit more dimension and stuff. It was just a cute story, but it wasn't anything exciting. Again, I feel like that's just the story of Cinderella's fault. So the next book that I read was King of Scars by Leigh. Bardugo. I already have a full review on my channel for this book, so if you want to watch that and get my more in-depth thoughts about it, then you can watch that. But King of Scars, I rated 4 stars, and you will see why in my review. But overall, I enjoyed this book, and if you turn it to the side, you will see the mess that is the post-it tabs. I was really engaged in this book like the whole way through, so I just had to mark every single thing. There were some things that I just didn't feel great about, but I'm really hoping that it'll redeem itself in Rule of Wolves, which comes out next March, and it's supposed to be the finale to the Grishaverse, which is really exciting because I've been too invested in the Grishaverse for the longest time, and I'm just ready for the great ending. I think the cover is beautiful. Like, this captured my attention when I found it in a used bookstore, and I just had to get it. This is when I had just finished Crooked Kingdom, and I was like, I must continue Leigh Bardugo's books. But yes, I think this was a really good way to, you know, start off the last branch of the Grishaverse. Speaking of the Grishaverse, the next book that I read, or books, would have to be the Shadow and Bone Trilogy by Leigh Bardugo as well. I have a reading vlog for Shadow and Bone and Siege and Storm on my channel already, so if you want to watch that, then that will also be in the description box. But overall, the series was actually really nice to read. As I said in my reading vlog, I did not really expect myself to read this series just because I'd heard so many reviews saying it was just mediocre, and I just didn't want to waste my time reading something that I wouldn't fully enjoy. But the reviews, I don't think I should have believed them. I mean, I understand like the common complaints about this book, like it makes total sense. I just think it was still enjoyable, especially now that I've read all the other Grishaverse books. I just thought it was more enjoyable now seeing these characters that everyone kind of mentions, but they never really appear. But onto the individual books themselves, starting off with Shadow and Bone. I rated Shadow and Bone 3.7 stars. I thought it was just okay. This was definitely my least favorite out of the 3 books. It just took a long time for it to really pick up. There's a bird on the road. Wait, is that a crow? Wait, I can't see. I don't have my glasses. The gods have blessed us, or the saints, may I say. There are some crows on the road, so I think they know they are kind of being summoned by just the Grishaverse in general. But you will hear more of my thoughts on that in the reading vlog, so I'm not going to talk too much about that in Siege and Storm. But Siege and Storm, this kind of matches. That's pretty cool. And speaking of that, can we just talk about this? Like, this is beautiful. I think the Shadow and Bone covers are so pretty. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. But Siege and Storm, this took me a really long time to read. It felt like it's a thick book, okay? But I think this one just had so much more in it, hence why it's such a thick book. But I enjoyed reading it a little bit more. I felt like there was just so much and some new characters that I already knew were going to appear in this book. I rated Siege and Storm 3.91 stars. This is getting too specific for my own good. And finally, the last book, Ruin and Rising. I enjoyed this book the most out of the three. I think this one just had like a really good finale to it. The fact that it's going to continue on a little bit more in King of Scars is going to be really exciting. I think all the characters got a little bit better in Ruin and Rising, especially Mal. Because I know there were so many complaints about him being like this toxic guy and just stupid. And yes, he is. But also, I think he just redeemed himself a little bit. And also the Darkling, what a great villain. And now I'm starting to imagine Ben Barnes as the Darkling because of the Netflix show, which I cannot get enough about. And I know that Ben Barnes is going to do a really good job portraying him, so all the more reason to just be more excited. And the last book I'm going to talk about, actually I finished after Siege and Storm, but I just didn't want to talk about it because it would ruin the order of the trilogy. The last book that I read this month was Lord of the Flies by William Golding. This one is definitely not like the others. It is not YA or fantasy or anything like that. So this book I had to read for my ELA class, so I would not have picked this one up if it weren't for school. I'm actually kind of glad that I read it though. This is surprising for me because usually I am like the least interested in books that I am like obligated to read by the school system. I did not expect Lord of the Flies to be about what it's about. So if you don't know what Lord of the Flies is about, it is about these British boys that were sent on a plane to another place from Britain because of this world war that's about to start, and they just want to get all the kids safe and away from the country. But the plane crashes on a deserted island, and these boys have to kind of figure out what they have to do with their lives now. They have to find out how to get rescued, but they also have to find out how to like live a society while there are no adults around. And I think this one it blew me away in some ways, but I still rated it like 3.56 stars. And I know that's really specific, but I had a certain number in mind when I thought of this book, so don't judge me. But I think that towards the end it gets crazy, it gets violent, it's very gruesome towards the end, and everyone just kind of goes just psychotic and stuff. I like when characters go crazy. Does that make sense? But I think like the darker themes of this book made it so interesting for me, and I really enjoyed the ending, but the beginning part was slow and I just didn't really care for how the writing style worked in some parts of it, so that's why it was a 3.56 stars. But overall I think like the story was the most captivating part of this. It was kind of scary and I don't even know what to do with my life anymore. This is the book where you have like really good discussions in class about. I really appreciate that because it makes ELA even more fun to like interact in. And there are like 2 movies out that are about Lord of the Flies, and they're both rated R, I think, so that's kind of what you can expect from this book. It's very violent, can be disturbing for some people, honestly. But yes, those are the books that I read in October. There was one last book that I really wanted to include on this list, but I wasn't able to finish it in time, and that would be Where Dreams Descend by Janella. I talked about this in my last video with the Chinese adoption thingy. I don't even remember what I did for that video. But this book, I am like a third of the way in. I'm really not that far into it, so I don't think I could have finished it by the time the October ends. This is going to be the first book that I mention in my November wrap-up, if I ever do one. Yeah, I really like this book so far, though. There's nothing that I dislike about it so far, except for like the magic system. I guess the magic system is a bit wonky, but I'm just waiting for it to be explained a little bit thoroughly. I don't have the dust jacket on this because of me taking it to school with me, but here, let me show you the dust jacket. Do you see how beautiful this is? Me too. Yeah, I mean, it's just such a beautiful cover, and yeah, I can't get enough of it. But those are all the books that I have for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was a good wrap-up video. I'm really excited to read a little bit more going forward. Bye, guys. Also, I'm adding some pictures of my dogs dressed up for Halloween, so here they are. I hope you enjoy them. The one with the white spot on her nose is Sweetie, and then the other one, who's all black, is Walter. I hope you enjoy those guys. Bye, guys.